because what I watched was an absolute disgrace. The NBA All-Star game used to mean something. It used to be like this one time a year where all the stars gathered. They'd have fun throughout the first three quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, it would be like, all right, the big dogs, all y'all check in. We gonna see who's who right now. And it
Right.
was like a measuring stick, essentially, for who kind of has the juice in the league at the moment. A lot of people say it's only an exhibition game, all this stuff. I think that is soft ass thinking, and I think that is a bullshit way to just hand wave anything. It's like you don't have to care about anything, but there are a lot of people that do care about this All-Star game. That's why, like, we don't want it to go the way of the Pro Bowl. We don't want it to go
Right.
the way of like these things that don't matter. Like, this game has a rich history. The award is named after Kobe Bryant.
The
And
one of the guys that always tried hard.
and what's happening now? Like, these people are showing up just shooting, like scoring 100 points and a half and shit, 200 points in a
Yep.
game now.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
bro, take Kobe's name off the award if y'all gonna do this shit.
Like, to hear an aftermath that like Adam Silver and Larry Bird and Oscar Robertson and a few other like legends, people connected, like talk to the players, and some of the players were like, "Yeah, man, we gotta actually give a fuck like we haven't done the last few years." And then they go out there and do it again, and was like, "All right, man, y'all, people said the whole thing about like the buddy buddy stuff of the picking teams, and everything else, and like the unloaded and the West being uneven in talent for all those
And
years,
then the
and they
West
finally
loses.
well, let me finish. And then they go ahead and they go ahead out here and they flip it up and they put it back to what it used to be to try to get people to, instead of doing the pickup game thing, people be upset and blah blah blah. That like maybe if they put it back to the conferences, they'll try again. And then they went out there and like it took 4 trips up the floor for me to hit you in Kirby and be like, hey man, they don't give a fuck. They still don't give a fuck. And sure enough, the threes start getting thrown up. And like, look, man, it's the NBA. It's the NBA in 2024. There's more threes than ever. The All-Star game, like they have no conscience about throwing up a shot at this stage in the All-Star game that they would never put up in a regular season game. None. And like obviously, defense or getting back or whatever else. That's always been a thing where guys are lazy to get back on defense in All-Star games. It's always the case, even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But like the whole idea where like dudes are cherry picking so hard, it was like somebody gets a fast break dunk and there's a media outlet like Kevin Love or Wes Unseld, like no, or the Jokic, like get out of here. Like it was just back and forth, ping pong and ping pong and ping pong, and then like it was just very disheartening because it's like, do any of y'all like want to seize an opportunity for yourselves as far as like people believing in y'all in that kind of way, or is it just so far gone where like no, you're around all these guys and none of them want to try, and like if you're the one that tries, people gonna look at you like you crazy, or you're the doofus, the dope that wants to try hard. It's like I don't know, man, but like after the games, hearing Anthony Edwards say like, yeah, man, this is our break or whatever, so this is a break. Is like this is a break for everybody for decades before you were born. And like, not only is the case now where like there was more time added between the break now, like y'all are trying even less than they did. Like y'all have, I don't want to.
It's
do
like, when are we gonna stop?
It's like,
when are we gonna stop coddling these niggas like and with this soft shit? Niggas out here crying about possibly getting injured and shit. Stop the cap. That's not it. Because I know what it is. When people start saying shit in public that doesn't make sense like that, just say you want more money to play the game. That's all they gotta say. But they know they can't say that because they'll get fucking killed in the court of public opinion. Like, be like, don't y'all make enough fucking money? Like, and then, like, it's not an honor to come out here and compete and do this shit for the history of the league? Like, has all that shit gone out the window?
Look, I think that's long gone where people don't care, or the guys just don't care about that stuff. I think the main thing is like these guys are tired, but I'm like, yeah, but y'all are always tired. So like, what's the difference?
Like, what y'all tired from? Y'all already doing all the load management. This is just one more thing in all these things in the league over the years that have just turned people off. The fucking super duper teams, the crazy free agency, this shit, like with the lack of trying in the All-Star game, the regular season turned to bullshit. All the stuff with all the fucking trying to do the in-season tournament, like. What are we doing here? Like, pretty soon, people will only watch the NBA Finals, and I think it's already headed there.
Nah, playoffs. I think we're already there. Like, it's last year was when it's like, well, for me, I was like, okay, man, like, it's been a few times you would see teams that would, overachieve, and then they get in the playoffs, and it's a whole different animal because of whatever the team is in matchups, whatever else, whatever glaring hole they have that like they were not pressed up against when they were in the regular season, because it's like the way teams scout or advanced scouting is like behind as far as like the practice time, so they can't like prepare for teams on just on one night or whatever else, on the back to back, get into a town late or whatever else. I get that, but once you got to send it for a series, it's different, and that's always been the case in matchups and playoffs. But when I look around and I see like, all right, the top teams in the like no team won 60 games last year. It's like, oh, so no one cares. No one just cares. No one cares to play their hardest. No one cares to like want to get a comfortable lead or whatever else, and then take their foot off the gas. Except for the Nuggets. The Nuggets literally did that. But like the people are just like, oh, there's so many old guys now that like they can't do it every single night. There's like, all right, I can do X, Y, and Z. Let's just try to get a matchup in the playoffs, and then we'll bounce someone. Like, and that's what Lakers did to the Grizzlies, right? Like, They got the matchup they were looking for. They bounced them cool, and then they also ran into another matchup they were fortunate to get with playing like a team that was so much smaller than the Warriors. And it's like, all right, man, like it's cool that like after the how bad it was for the Lakers and the Westbrook thing, that whole run, to like them to have some spark of life, that overachieve in that way. But it's like, all right, what did I just watch for the past 6 months to get here, right? And obviously, there's always some surprise team that makes the Final Four, right? Like a few years ago, it was Atlanta. The year after that, it was Dallas. There's always a team that sneaks, or remember like those was 09 or 08 Utah Jazz, right? Yeah. There's always a team that sneaks into a conference finals. That's not what I'm saying, but it's like, if these games, I watch these games, and I've watched basketball my whole life, and I understand how hard these dudes work at the apex of it. I understand when people care about like a regular season game, post All-Star game, and then I watch guys' effort from night to night. And like I've seen these guys a decade ago, or 7 years ago, depending on how old these guys are, from night to night, like play at a higher level night to night. It's like, all right, well, I'm not tripping. I remember how these guys used to get down. So what? So is it just like everybody is tired, or what? Like, what has happened to the schedule? What has happened to these bodies and these players? And how come these new bodies, these young guys, are still also like this too? It's
because the expectation has been changed.
So like the All-Star game is a microcosm of the regular season, where it's like this used to be a showcase event for you get the biggest stars in the league together, and like you get to see, like at the peak of it, mano a mano, who can, for a quarter or for 5 minutes or whatever else, like them compete at a pretty high level. Was it playoff level? No, but was it like, or was it March? Was it a March like Sunday game on national television? It will be that level of intensity.
The All-Star game, I feel like it had its own like tier of like mythology. Even it's like, now it just doesn't. And like I was like going through the years or whatever, and I was like, man, I think the last All-Star game to really like be something for real was like 2014, and then the Kobe year, like when he died. And aside from that, like we have lost this game, like, and it really sucks because I grew up loving the NBA All-Star game. I had posts on my Facebook, it showed
the memories thing.
Where
I had the same thing today. Looking at it,
I was like, man, I wait all year for the All-Star game. I wait, to see these guys, do whatever. This shit's gonna be great. I'm pumped. I'm posting about it 10 hours before it happens and shit. Like,
bro, we sound old now, but remember when Dwayne Wade broke Kobe's nose in All-Star game?
Yes.
Right, like. What the fuck?
And then he kept playing.
Right.
Like Yes, literally. What happened to the game I love? Literally, Dan. Like it's like, you know, you said that we sound old. I don't think this is a thing of age. I don't think this is a thing of times changing or anything.
There's got to be something generational.
This is bad, man. Like because like it didn't just start here. Like this thing has already been falling downhill.
Right. But this is the reason why I say this, right? Obviously, Caleb Baldwin, contributor to Social Suplex, he said like he didn't get why people were upset about it or whatever else. And I was like, well, I don't know how much basketball you ever watched, but like people used to give a fuck and try. And I'm not even going back like decades ago, back when Jordan played or when Bird or Magic played. I'm like, just go back to 2014, just a decade ago. They were trying hard, right? And like that was the thing that's like, what has happened in the last decade? Like you can't say, well, these guys get paid so much money or the schedule so much different. It's like all these dudes were making, or most of these dudes that were making all sorts of teams had $100 million contracts then. Like I think Jaylen Brown's the only person with a $200 million contract right now. Like is that different? Is like wasn't between $100 million and $200 million? You know, they do the $100 million cocksucker beat it. Is that what they're gonna do to me? But I don't understand like how the stratosphere of wealth changes your opinion of, or how you handle going through an All-Star weekend. I don't get it. Like
I really
think where everybody makes a gentleman's agreement, like we ain't gonna try hard, we gonna go home, blah 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 blah. But it's like I that wasn't the case even like 6 years ago. What has happened?
Because there was a report, I think it was Windhorse, that said the players have privately expressed like they'd like to get paid more for this game. I didn't know that. I don't have a problem with them wanting to for the All-Star game raise the prize money, whatever you got to do to make them play harder. And like I think this will they're within their rights to ask for that, but they gotta, instead of them coming out here and putting a shitty product on television, fucking play and maybe they'll fucking consider it. Like
I would say, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James on the Players Association, they were at the All-Star game. Isn't that collectively bargained?
Right.
What the fuck are we doing then? Like you agreed to this new CBA. You didn't think the owners would have been like, all right, the All-Star game, like probably our biggest rated regular season property that we have. We want you to try hard. We'll shell out the extra, I don't know, $24 million, $12 million to make it play harder. I don't think they would say no to that.
And like I said, since they can't say that out loud, because they'll get killed if they say this, and whatever, they gotta say shit like, oh, we worried about injuries, we just happy to get through the game safe. Of course you're gonna get through the game safe. You ain't doing shit. There were 2 fouls the entire night. This is shameful.
I don't get the point. I just don't get the point of Joel Embiid was hurt, right? He got his name announced as a starter, and then they moved on. Like, if you guys want to do this, cool. Take your all-star what do you call it? Your all-star accreditation, not accreditation, that's not the right word. Like the
designation.
Your designation that you were all-star that year, and we'll treat you like Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Where we're we'll keep replacing you until we end up with the 13th best quarterback in the conference being in the fucking All-Star game or being in the Pro Bowl. That's what they do. That's what we do with Pro Bowl quarterbacks all the goddamn time, right? So LeBron, Steph, Durant, y'all all 36 or older. Y'all old as dirt. Y'all want to do this. Jokic, he don't give a fuck about this extracurricular shit. He don't want to go. Luka, he don't want to be here. Fine, replace with the next 5 people. If you don't want to play, don't show up. You're still going to be considered. You're still going to look on your pro basketball reference or your Hall of Fame resume and say that All-Star still counted.
Yeah, and
get somebody that wants to play.
It was amazing. Like the East wins or whatever, and you just lay these teams down on paper, and it was the East just came out here and it was oh, the people that wanted to actually run up and down the court won. Oh, it
Right.
wasn't necessarily even
The
about talent.
The team full of young guys, but like there's only like 3 guys you can be like, oh yeah, that guy's definitely a future Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was really weird, man. It was really weird. Like I'll make a thing and put it in the backdrop. You can see like difference of like level of player on these rosters, and it's like the West losing this is like y'all just didn't care. Y'all didn't care, and that's fine. Y'all didn't care, but like don't show up.
Yeah,
like take the All-Star designation, leave.
Come up with a 3-on-3 tournament or some shit like that. Like,
would they try for that? Would they try because that's half court?
Yeah, it's half court. Make it a 1-on-1 competition. Something. Have some pride. Jesus. Like I turned the game off at halftime. I knew what time it was. No pun intended, Dame Lillard, but it was like, yeah, they scored 104 in the first half. All right. And I think the West was down by like 15 at that point. I was like, they could come back, but I don't care. And then Karl Anthony Towns drops 50 off the bench. Bro, if someone ever scored 50 points in an All-Star game in like 15 years ago, we would be losing our fucking minds.
Right.
But he scored 50 off the bench and lost by 25. What happened here? Yeah, Nithman, Adam Silver is the worst commissioner ever. He's worse than Goodell. They do different bad things. I think people like Adam Silver, like he tries to work with the players, but I think he's given in too far. Like he's just is gone too far. Like everything with this shit, like just no, man. They need to tighten the belt a little bit, I think.
I don't know how you do that though, right? Like I don't know how you fix this. I don't know. It just seems broken. It seems all broken to me.
Like how does this make that All-Star game like remotely attractive to be sold like as part of a package?
It shouldn't. It should just. I'm assuming it's all part of the TV deal where obviously like the finals go to.
That's an extra game,
right? But like the finals go to ESPN/Disney, and then like TNT because they don't get the finals, they get the All-Star weekend. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's how that works out. And obviously TNT. I think obviously ABC pays more or Disney pays more. But yeah, man, like it's
very disheartening.
It's really disappointing.
This is like one of the seminal things I grew up with as a fan of the NBA. Watching guys just play. Like I started watching the All-Star game as a regular NBA fan in like 1998. The Madison Square Garden, Jordan's quote-unquote last All-Star game, the first part one. Kobe's first All-Star game. And then, like, from there, it was like, yeah, like 99, obviously, the lockout. 2000 was Oakland. It was on the West Coast. 2001 jumps into that huge comeback from the East with the epic camera angles and stuff like that. 2002, Kobe in Philly. Gets booed out there, and that's like a part of Kobe Bryant's story. He got booed in the All-Star game in his hometown. Like, imagine if he didn't care.
03, Jordan's last actual All-Star game where he hits the go-ahead shot, then Kobe ties it up, and then they go to overtime.
Yep. And it's just like, 04's in L.A. That was cool. 05, I remember, is in Denver. That's LeBron's first All-Star game. 2006, I think that's the first time he won MVP. 2007 that was another Kobe MVP year. There's a bunch of Kobe MVP years. Just
he won 3, right?
4. Just
what was it? Was 2010 the year he was 2010? What year was the year he had the co-MVP with Shaq? Was that 2010?
That was 2009.
9. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And 2010 was that Dallas one. Over 100,000 people there. 2011, that huge one.
Now imagine that, right? Now imagine that. Imagine them trying to do Jerry's World again.
People would not show up. People would not show up for that shit. I know I wouldn't show up. Like, that huge, Staples Center one. Kobe's last All-Star game at home. Like, legendary game. 2012, Orlando, down to the wire. Kobe and LeBron. Down to the wire, 2013.
Was that the one when LeBron passed out?
Yes.
And then Melo made that face?
Yes.
Okay.
Like we learn things about these guys in these games. We don't learn anything now, except no one gives a fuck. That's what we learn.
Like the last thing we learned, in the All-Star game that I can recall was like, I forgot what year it was, but like it was one of them like LeBron Cleveland years when Embiid had finally made an All-Star team or made a second All-Star team, and he played well, and he got promoted basically to be in the crunch time for the East. And like, or maybe it was by the time we were picking captains, I can't remember, but like you saw like, oh, LeBron, he's on LeBron's team, and like he's out there and he's playing well, and LeBron trusts him to do things. It's like, oh, this dude might actually, like, he looks like he could be incredible, he could stay healthy, but like, what could this be? And then what do you know? He comes with a perennial MVP candidate at last year's MVP. It's like, that's the last time we learned anything about these guys. And like, outside of just NBA basketball, we learn things about people. Like when we see international competition, like one of the things that let us know that Kevin Durant was going to be real was watching him in the World Championships.
Yep.
Right. And that was the thing with Ant this year in the summer. It was like we saw like this like rise he's having right now as a player to be All NBA came in the summer during FIBA for World Championships, whatever it was, in international competition this summer. It's like that. I don't understand. Like, so it's like when maybe just we care about basketball too much, but it's like we have moments to see this stuff and people get to kind of see like where they're at and like where they need to and what else they need to work on or to get to the next level. And you rarely see that because like in the regular season, guys have so many nicks and bruises and so much travel mileage on their bodies, and they're fucking zombies. But so we really only get it during like after All-Star break and then in the playoffs. And maybe like the first month of this year. And it's like we lost all that. Like we got the in season tournament. That was fun. It absolutely was fun. But like once we left out of that, like what happened? Like right to nose diving. They won that shit.
I knew that would happen, by the way.
Right? and as the season and out the season progressed, and like they got on a high streak lately, like the Lakers. Like it's the ebbs and flows of the season, and it's like, all right, man, like now you're here. You have your 5 to 7 days off, time to refresh, try to recharge. You go into the back half of the year, and it's like all the stars, have been assembled. The Avengers, Captain America yells Avengers Assemble, and they showed up, and they just showed up not ready to fight Thanos. They just showed up just in in flip flops. All right, man, cool, yeah, cool. But like, look at I put the backdrop. Look at like the talent disparity, right? Like this is the East. Oh, sorry, this is the East. I'm fucking up. This is the East right here.
Yeah.
Count them. Count the future Hall of Famers. The for sure future Hall of Famers. I got MB would be on this thing, but you got Giannis.
You got Jason Tatum.
Yep. You got Lillard.
Who
else you got? I think that's it, right?
I think it's too early for Donovan Mitchell or Jaylen Brown.
Oh, Jaylen Brown just made his second All-Star team. He ain't an All-Star. He ain't gonna be no Hall of Famer. He ain't got no left hand.
Look, Bam Adebayo on some Ben Wallace shit, right?
He got to win a title though. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I can hear TJ now. Now look at that
shit is look.
I'm fucking up.
The West All-Star shit is like Jokic, LeBron, AD, Steph, Luka,
Durant,
Kawhi.
You're better off kind of people that like you don't think you're All-Stars or future Hall of Famers yet, like Booker or Shea or Edwards or like Ant and Cat and Cat. That'd be so you got eight Hall of Famers for sure, future Hall of Famers on that team, and I think Book like basically is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's and they lost.
I think that the only step left to try to save this thing, if you were going to keep it, without some substantial raise in the prize money, is U.S. versus the world. And then when the world starts beating the shit out of us, we ain't gonna know how to act. Like it's gonna get real. It's gonna get real ugly out here. Like,
but that's also another thing that's not a dirty secret, like a kind of open secret when it comes to this All-Star game stuff. Like, yes, there are people that are actually naturally better for the All-Star game than others, right? Like, just look at point guard historically. You put Jason Kidd on an All-Star team, your All-Star team is going to have a good shot at winning that night, right? If you put Rajon Rondo on your All-Star team, you have a good chance of fucking losing. right? He's not built for the All-Star game for whatever reason, right? And then you throw in people that like, I don't know why the world versus America thing would actually make the Americans care. Because they don't care about this. That's all they care about that. And on the other end, when you do that, you're going to put Jokic on the international team, and Jokic don't give a flying fuck about being out here for this All-Star game. And I'm okay with that because any basketball he don't get paid, or any non-NBA basketball or non-regular season playoff basketball stuff, I know he's not gonna give a fuck. I know that. I'm fine with that. So when he comes out here and that's the reason why he's always gets picked last. We'll be like, why has he been picked last on this year? Because he don't give a fuck. He just going up there playing. Like, was it Barron that threw the ball off his ass on the inbound in the first quarter? He don't care. He just out there just lumbering around. And then back up the floor.
It's kind of like how Duncan used to play in the All-Star games.
Second?
It's kind of like how Duncan used to play in the All-Star games.
I think Duncan tried harder. Especially on defense.
Yeah, on defense for sure. But yeah, man. I think I'm done. I'm kicking this shit out of this league.
Yeah, because the thing that made it frustrating for me, especially because like I did not watch since Kobe died. I have not watched because I just don't want to watch that shit and see any tributes to him, and then want to just feel bad for a whole hour, right? And then like I was like, all right, they went back to East and West. I'll see if they'll try. Because I'll say them scores and be like, no one's trying. And it took me literally 4 trips up the floor. And I just yelled like, bro, they don't give a fuck again. Why I get suckered into the East West shit saving this? Or like, if the team's being even based off of team captains or whatever, we're gonna make it even. Why would the West having 9 Hall of Famers compared to the East 3 make it competitive, make them want to try harder? Whatever, man. Whatever.
Man. Yeah. So let's move on, man.